Yep. Look, the live chat's already
It's flying.
chock-a-block.
Here we go. Good to see Dan S in the comments.
Who's Dan S?
Simo.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, the pie fans are joining.
Yeah. Yeah, really looking forward to this. Are you, Simo? That's all right.
We'll see you at the Bucks next week.
Yeah, we've got some audio issues. Actually, I'm just going to mute Jules here because I can hear myself already. We've got some audio issues tonight, and we're not in studio. Now we're not in studio. It's my fault. I'm crook as anything. I've had the flu all week. I didn't want to get these boys sick, and on that, just mentioned to Dan pre-show. Oh, Jules, you're on mute. Just remember, you're going to be on mute if we're talking. Yeah.
Yeah, you're so good for us, aren't you?
Hey,
Taking care of us and all.
I'll look out for you. But on that,
have you got a lozenge in your mouth?
I do, and I've got a tea next to me to try and get through this.
You bought tea to the G yesterday, didn't you?
How's that? In a thermos in the MCC. Never been seen by a Carlton supporter who's of European descent ever.
Did you get it checked? Did they have to check you?
No, I put in my sister's jacket. They didn't check anything. On the fact that I can't speak, Jules, I just mentioned to Dan pre-show, maybe tonight's the night.
I can host it.
No,
you've got to give me a run. Give me a run sheet.
I wouldn't be against it.
No,
give me a run sheet.
There's no run sheet. You've sat there and watched me host for 137 of these. Surely instincts will just kick in.
Sometimes you still need a structure. That's what I think.
Are we doing this?
Let's go. Let's go. Give me a go. If it's dog shit, you step in.
Watch this.
You don't need to say image online anymore.
Nah.
For tonight. You don't need to say powered by image online.
Watch. Look at that.
Bang. Hey, Joe, like I stepped into my MC role and I nailed it. Like I did my speech at my wedding, nailed. Like we will at Jules' wedding. Let's go.
This has been a long time coming. I'm sure there's a few people listening that are very excited for this now.
1, 2, 3, 4.
That's our moment. We finally, as a generation, we can hang our hat on a genuine moment.
Honestly, we are a force because of the intensity that we play at is just next level.
We want to be here. We want to impact finals. And it's one thing of obviously saying it, but we just lived it.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 138 of the Almost Blues Brothers. I'm Dan, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Julian Cassano and Joseph Adamo. Boys, how are we?
Good, mate. How are you?
Good. This episode, by the way, guys, brought to you by Piota Health and Performance.
That's milk.
Piota Health and Performance, one of the biggest sponsors of this show. And Image Online, of course. Jingles. Jules, what do they do, mate?
Ring-a-ding-dings. No, don't do voiceovers, voice calls, and the lot, mate. They do everything. Don't you worry about that.
Yep. I'm hosting the show for today, guys. For those just joining us, so it's gonna be an interesting episode, boys. I think we're not in the best moods. Joe, you're sick.
I'm crook.
You've got your tea there, Jules. How are you feeling?
Joe just reminds you of that frog with the Lipton iced tea. Have you seen that? Have you seen that picture? That's what Joe reminds me of at the moment.
Yeah, we've got a big show, don't we? We've got a massive show. A lot to talk about. I think the comments are absolutely flying. I don't think we've had this many comments ever, boys.
Not this early.
Not like
this early. At the end of this episode, I want a poll on if you want me to host for the rest of the year, guys.
You got some. You got some support in the comments. Oliver Lynch, he's fucking wrapped. Look at this. Jimmy R, Michael Harley, they all want it. They all want it.
Well, listen, Joe's just getting complacent. Obviously, he's faking he's got the flu, so I'll step up. Simple. Boys, as we always start the show, Jules, how's your week before we get into it?
Pretty busy week, boys. But on the weekend, literally just went to the footy. Friday night, had my parents over for dinner. Did a few things with them around the house that my dad's helping me with. But other than that, not much. You boys, Joe, how's your weekend? Any golf?
Oh
I
yeah.
know you're talking about your golf.
All I did over the weekend was look at the back of my eyelids. That was about it.
I can attest to that. That I obviously we speak each week, boys, and I gave Joe a call at the start of the week, and I didn't get an answer. Thought maybe the bloke's in a meeting. I've called, and then I didn't even get a call back. Didn't even get a call back.
No,
That's how you know I was in a hole.
Yeah, I've
Explain.
been in.
Jules, you're on
Yeah.
mute.
Jules is on mute.
sorry, boys. Might need to get used to this. Joe, I don't think you were the only person staring at the back of your eyelids either. I reckon the 22 players Saturday night were, to be honest.
That's
What do you
good, Jules.
reckon?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
mind that. That's actually
Good
really
intro.
good.
Good intro.
I'm just getting
I
stuck
guess,
in early, that's all.
well, people want to see it because reading a fair bit today, and obviously us being there wasn't good. Wasn't good.
Yeah, there's I just want to because I've still got control of comments here. You won't have control because you don't have the login to my side of things. Charles Bugali, one of you cursed us saying you're bored after we beat Geelong. Should learn to keep your mouth shut, Joe. Now, you're not the first person today to tell me to keep my mouth shut. I won't tell you who the other person is, but if they're watching, they'll know. Don't tell me what to do. We're fans. We're fans. We all get hot. We all get wrapped up into it. The only difference between me and a fan that doesn't do a podcast is that they say it within the comfort of their lounge room. Pretty simple. They don't say it on a camera. So give us a spell, please. Now, Dan, I'm going to do what you guys don't do every week. I'm going to ask you how your weekend was.
Thank you, Joe. I was waiting for that. I was actually hoping it was coming from Jules because it would have meant a lot more if Jules remembered and then asked me. Well,
I was
obviously,
actually going to get it, but I was more importantly, Paysan, I was going to ask how Ali was.
yeah, no,
I
he's
think that's a
doing.
more important question.
He's putting on weight. It seems like he's feeding every 30 minutes now. It's just like nonstop. At one stage, we had to go to the should we buy formula stage because Lauren's obviously breastfeeding. So it seemed as though the supply was running low on the demand. But I think that's because the little man's growing. So he's above his birth weight. He cried himself to sleep after the loss yesterday. Lauren sent me a video. The Collingwood theme song was going on, and he was just losing his mind. Absolutely losing.
How's that comment?
Just hammer. Just hammer. No, but otherwise, we get visitors. So like today, we've had people obviously come to visit him, which has been good. I played golf in the morning, and I play like absolute dog shit.
Did you go to the range? Did you go to the range?
No,
Did you actually play?
range, because I had to hit again. I didn't hit for like 4 weeks, but I was terrible.
So can you just from now on, if you're gonna say you played golf, just say that if you play around. Otherwise, tell
How's
me
this?
you've gone to the range.
You know what? Fuck ya. How's this? There's a bloke that I met yesterday, a listener. He's probably listening today. Simo Schultz. I promised I'd give you a shout out. And he actually stopped me and goes, Dan, how you going? We started speaking about the game. And he goes, Joe. I said, yeah, what about him? He goes, is he here? He goes, because I want to actually see if he's any good because I'm sick of him talking about his golf game like he's a pro. Yep.
Yeah.
Simo, he's shit.
But so
Go cough. Yeah, okay. Oh, we go to New Zealand and we have a bit of fun and all of a sudden we've got a cough, eh? Couple Guinnesses. Yeah.
I wouldn't even say it was a cough. Maybe a bit of a scratch in the throat, to be honest.
no. Yeah.
Jules,
That's
have you,
what
had a
Corey
sick
tells
day?
me.
Have you had a sick day this week?
All right,
This
fuck
year?
this. You had your chance. All right.
Well, I got one more bit.
No, you had your chance. So
No, wait.
on that,
For
no,
those
so on that,
listening-
no, you had your
For those
chance.
listening and joining, hit the like and subscribe button for Spotify, Apple TV, Netflix, whatever the fuck you need to do, Instagram, whatever there is, whatever handles there are. Like and subscribe. I hope you think we're a good show.
What comes next?
Jules, without any further ado,
He's on mute. Let's get into it.
This
Right,
muting
then.
crap is ODing me already.
Hey, it is what it is. You need a mic that works. Otherwise, all we hear is echo from you.
it's hard for you.
It is hard for Jules.
It's actually very hard because you continue to forget. So boys, obviously it's a podcast for Carlton Football Club, and we're here to review the game. I don't actually even want to read out the scores, to be honest. I don't think I can.
Can I just quickly?
I'm not doing the match report.
Gab joining us. My lovely partner Gab joining us again from France this week. She's at the Olympics, and she still finds time to watch this podcast. Now, she hates this podcast, so it says something about the quality of what we've got here if she's tuning in while she's got the Olympics in her backyard at the moment. So if you're not,
Or
if you're not subscribed to Blue Abroad, if you haven't liked the video, if you haven't given us 5 stars on Spotify, if you haven't followed us on Instagram at Almost Blues Brothers, go do it now.
or the fact that Dan's hosting.
Yeah, maybe it's that. Hey,
Maybe
this is actually a record number of people, Dan, tonight. For
Is it really?
Yeah, I think so. It's pretty close. So
Hey, the
pressure's
people
on.
are telling you something, Joe.
Pressure's on.
I'm not reading out the score.
The word of mouth spread that quickly that Dan was hosting the podcast. Everyone jumped on.
I'm not reading the score. Obviously, we lost to Collingwood. Boys, where do you want to start? Jules?
I'd love to actually start with not even the game, to be honest with you. I think we should start with selection.
Okay.
What are your thoughts, Joe? And I'm not even talking about selection this week currently. I'm talking about in the last 5-6 weeks, because I don't think we can just speak about this game. I don't think we can speak of this game in isolation and don't think that, the last 4 or 5 weeks hasn't played a part in terms of our performance.
Yep. We spoke about selection, I reckon, 8 weeks ago now, 9 weeks ago. It was the first time we brought it up, where I spoke about this notion, and it was a watch and wait at the time, but this notion that we were going to get players back that we didn't necessarily need to come back in to fuck with the balance that we found. And it was a watch and wait. This was well before Chera or Cottrell or anyone re-entered the mix. I think it was episode 132 from memory. So that's about 6-7 weeks ago. And over that last 6 weeks, that has proven to be true. Players have come back in without having to earn their spot, whether it be back through injury or back through form. I spoke about the fact that sport is a business and we've got certain contracts that just have to play. I think both of you agreed, but there were a few that told me, it won't happen, this and that. Undisputed now. So selection for me, especially over the last 6 weeks, not just on Saturday night, has been one of, if not the biggest catalyst for what we've seen in terms of the decline of this club and the form that we've seen. So
I can agree with that. I just think it goes beyond that for me with a mindset and an immaturity of the list, in my opinion, for where we were, 5-6 weeks ago, for example, sitting second to an air of complacency. What I mentioned it last week, that what you were seeing is complacency 101. And now we're in a position where, again, for me, based on immaturity, we're in a position now where we're having to chase, and in their mind, I feel as though they now see something to play for. They need to fight with their backs against the wall in some respect. And that's where you evidently get the best out of this playing group, because they've clearly shown that sitting second and getting the job done, and securing top 2, top 4, they didn't have it within them. So I think first and foremost, it's a mindset thing of the playing group, and we're seeing it for what it is. And it's just blatant immaturity from the group entirely. Leadership, everything.
Yeah, but I guess that comes, obviously from the selection committee and obviously the coaches. I mean, yeah, obviously the players need to take responsibility too. You've got a player like Chera. What is this? His fifth hammy in a year?
It's his
It's
third
it's his third hammy just
this
this
year.
year in
Yeah.
6 months. Yeah, but within the last year, he's had 5, Paysan.
Yeah.
He's had 5. So obviously there's issues there and underlying issues there in terms of the training loads, whether his professionalism, obviously S&C coaching staff playing him in too early, not having a training block and a bank of games in the VFL, and then he comes in, doesn't perform, starts playing midfield. Whether we didn't have the numbers back in defence and he was pushed back there, whether it was perform and trying to keep him in the side, and then obviously going into the midfield on the weekend last night as well, wasn't overly great. I think he did a couple of good things, but these are just some things where we're trying to tinker, and we're trying to tinker too much. Too much. At the end of the day, we should have gone back to basic, stuck to what we know, and we didn't.
Yeah. Well, we always speak about continuity, don't we, boys? Obviously, that was rattled a little bit with TDK being out for obviously a few games now. And H, well, he was back this week, but previously. Boys, listen, can I tell you why I heavily put it down to mindset, immaturity, and I guess embracing the moment? Is you can't tell me that a free kick for Collingwood, say exiting D50 and then being able to break, comes nothing down to work rate and effort.
Well, they kicked.
And in
They
between
kicked.
the years. 3 times in the
3.
first quarter. First 3 times I remember in the first quarter, they were able to exit D50 so easily, it wasn't funny.
Well,
And
for
you
the
can't
game.
tell me that is nothing other than just straight between your just down to your pure work ethic
So just on that,
and
it's not even
want
just
and will
the
and
biggest
desire.
the biggest concern was the kick-in differential. They kicked 18 points from kick-ins. They went coast to coast 3 times. Bang. Untouched, uncontested completely through the middle of the ground, did it however they wanted to. That there is something I have not seen all year against it from a side that Collingwood haven't been world beaters this year. And we, as poor as we've been in defensive transition or defensive stoppage or just defensively overall, that was just I don't know. That had my head in my hands, to be honest.
Sorry, Jules, I know you want to talk, but then you go the other end, and then we're trying to exit our D50 with either dump kick down the line or slow ball movement. Where's the urgency?
For me, if you actually go to like pressure ratings, Joe, which I'm not surprised with the pressure ratings, to be honest with you. I think the third quarter was definitely going to be the one where we sort of dropped off. I think Voss alluded to that in his presser as well, that the third term in terms of effort and work rate, it wasn't quite up there. But if you have a look, we've either matched them or better, besides the third. And that was obviously the difference there. The other quarter was more about skills. And the reason why they were getting through us is because of the lack of communication in terms of passing on players. And for me, I saw with my own eyes senior players, I'm not going to name them, but senior players not willing to communicate and pass on players for other players to obviously take those players and take obviously responsibility. And for me, that is what we struggled with, and we've probably struggled with over the last 5-6 weeks. Obviously, giving responsibility and having accountability with people. For me, and who is it? Sandra McDonald, name and shame. Cripps. I'm telling you, he defensively work rate off the ball, especially in transition. I know he's not one of the bigger players, but it's not. When I saw the other players were just jogging past, he was trying to. He didn't even say. If I can't remember who it was. Say it was Elijah Hollins. He didn't say go track him. Nothing. There was no hand gesture. Nothing. For me, that's an issue. That's an issue. And for example, the kick-ins, that's not work rate. That's not work rate. It's a lack of structure and communication to set up as quickly as possible. When I see players, for example, when I say players where the ball's going out, I don't care. Do not go and pick up your player to help them up or high five them, saying well done. No. Set up defensively or offensively around the contest to make sure that you win the football and go forward with the ball and set up defensively behind the ball. Don't go around high-fiving each other. Set up. That's
I
the
agree
main
with that.
response. That's what you should be looking at. Not worrying about high-fiving each other and applauding each other. No, it's not on. Not when you've lost 5 games out of 6 or 4 games out of 5, whatever it may be. It's ridiculous.
So just quickly, if we can talk about the first quarter, because we're pretty much we're obviously there, but in more so in the sense of not taking our opportunity and not affecting the scoreboard. In the context of the whole game, we obviously lost by 3 points. How important did you both see that, and did you see it sort of favouring Collingwood for the fact that they'd taken their chances so effectively, and we were 0 goals 8 or 1 goal 8 or something? Yeah.
I'll bring the pressure rating back up. So our pressure rating in the first quarter was 200, over 200. We had them on toast to start that game. The chances were there. We kicked 8 fucking behinds to start the game. You're not. There's going to be. There are very few games you're going to win starting a game 1-8, and then not being able to correct that and getting to 3-12 before you go, fuck, probably need to be a bit more clinical here, boys. Now, some will say, oh, if we had have kicked straight in the first quarter, we would have won that game. Sorry, it's all encompassing. It's all part of it. It's not clinical enough. I don't give a fuck about what's, ifs, ands, or maybes. There were certain opportunities we had early in that game that went begging. Second part to this, it's twofold. So there's that. Second part to this is it comes down to moments, right? Everyone will look at not everyone. And to be fair, I've actually been pretty pleased with what I've seen online with the lack of hate.
They haven't been hammering Gov.
No, which I think is good. That's a sign of maturity in the fan base. McGovern's chance aside, right, which we'll get to later in the show, I'm sure. Motlop had a set shot in the second quarter, directly in front, at a time in the game where we needed someone to step up and go, all right, let's steady the ship here. Sprayed it. Elijah Hollins, for as good as he played and for as good as that goal was in the last quarter, burnt the fuck out of Charlie Curnow in the third. At a point in the game where we were 20 points down, would have brought it back to 14. Instead, showboating, went for the dribble kick, missed it. Collingwood end to end from a kick in, coast to coast, goal, 2-goal swing, 26 points down. So it comes down to moments, and it's not just those 3, but they're the 3 that stick out in my mind. So in terms of letting them into the game, Dan, we did it all night. I personally believe for the majority of that game, we actually had them on toast.
But do you remember
there was just those moments where we weren't clinical enough in front of goal, or to Jules's point, where we just didn't want to structure up and we fell asleep that let him back in.
Yeah, Joe, just on those Motlop and Elijah moments, for me, Elijah Hollins, you know how I rate him so highly. Obviously, he burnt Charlie, but in the previous weeks, or even for how long, we're 20 rounds in, how many times has Charlie Curnow burnt players?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
it's coming from your leaders.
Yep.
He's in our leadership group. That's
the point. That's a good point. Sorry, Jules. Just quickly,
for me.
Just on that train of thought, though, just quickly, I'll let you go in a minute. But on that, it does start from the leaders. And because that's been happening in previous weeks, I'm not surprised that Elijah burnt him. because of the way that our leaders have been burning players and not taking accountability for their own actions in previous weeks. So it was a good point. I just had to build on that. It's good.
Yeah. So for me, that's where it stems from. That's where it stems from. And if players like a Cripps, and I know someone said in the comment that Cripps is probably best on ground. He probably was. But best on ground, that's an individual accolade. I don't care. I'm in the business of winning games of football and winning premierships. And if you're not willing to communicate and pass on players defensively to prevent and stop a goal, then I'm sorry, it's just not good enough. You know, with Charlie Curnow, I know there's mixed emotions on Charlie Curnow. I love Charlie Curnow. I know Joe milks my dad. My dad, for example, he doesn't hate Charlie Curnow, but at the end of the day, this has been his worst year out of the three, performance-wise. I know he does kick goals. He does kick goals. But at the end of the day, his one-on-one ability at the moment is putrid, and he's trying to get easy goals instead of going out in the lead, which he did a couple of times last night, but just didn't convert.
Jules, on that, do you remember I turned to you? I think it might have been the third quarter, and I said a big factor that we're missing is the presence of Charlie and even Harry to an extent, where we'd have that kick down the line, all right? And obviously, it was the only option we could do at times, okay? Where was their presence? Because I saw Moore, I saw Howe, I saw Maynard intercepting, throwing. Where was Charlie and Harry imposing themselves in that scenario? Do you know what I mean? So I want to ask you boys something else. Now, it was clearly evident that our decision making by foot and our skills at times, you know what? Uncharacteristically from a Sam Walsh, for example, or from players that which Sam Walsh I think had his worst game, personally.
Yep.
Okay. Uncharacteristically from these players, and even from some players like your Govs, that it was blatant poor decision making by foot, that we were giving them looks just from our own skill error. But what do you boys both put that down to? Because for me, I was baffled watching these errors in key areas as well. Turning the ball over like forward to center, just really bad.
Basic skill errors at this time of the year. It's not something I thought we'd be talking about, to be honest. It just
So is that complacency for you both?
More clearly, clearly the group has become complacent since the Geelong game. I don't know. I spoke to someone today on this. I'm a big believer that the sentiment of the fan base usually reflects the sentiment of the inner sanctum and vice versa, right? After that Geelong game, I think in general, as a fan base, we probably became complacent and thought, all right, we're already thinking about a home qualifying final here. How good's this? Got an easy fixture to finish the year, whatnot. If that's how we're thinking, no shit, that's how they're going to be thinking inside the four walls too. They can say whatever they want. They can talk as much as they want. Oh, we're focusing on pressure. We're doing this. We're doing that. We're not getting ahead of ourselves. Actions speak louder than words at the end of the day.
We became complacent when we arrested George Hewitt. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. That's when it turned. Jules, remember that? Remember we spoke about it? And we're like, oh, is he injured or not? That's when it started.
For me, it's not done until it's done.
Of course.
It's not done until it's done, you know? So, I mean, I think in today's landscape, especially like social media and the players looking into the media, I mean, they can say that they don't, but I think we all know that they do. And obviously, it's probably very, very hard in their worlds to not look into it and not let it get to them, whether it's in a positive or a negative manner. Okay, because it can work both ways. You know, too much positivity, it's not so good. And also too much negativity, it's not so good either, you know. And being able to be in a good state of equilibrium is tough. But at the moment, in the last 5-6 weeks, there's no way that we've been in the right mindset to be able to perform at our ultimate for long enough in games.
Can I just play devil's advocate? Yeah. Can I play devil's advocate here on this one, right? I'm in the camp. I'm in the camp that I think that we've become complacent as a group. But let me play devil's advocate. What if what this is just the evolution of the club still that we're watching? And you might call it a cop out, but I'll let me paint the picture. It's the first time that this group has ever been in a position where they're being chased and not chasing, right? So they were firmly entrenched inside the top two. Is it potentially that they just tightened up a little bit too much and forgot how to play with a bit of freedom and forgot how to play on instinct? Because I'll use the Collingwood
That's a
game as the
cop out.
example.
That's
Well, let me use the
excuse for
Collingwood.
me.
Let me use the Collingwood game as an example for this, right? It took until 8 minutes to go in the game when we had one left on the bench and we're 5 goals down for them to switch on. So when backs were completely against the wall, when we had nothing else to lose and everything to gain, they decided, shit, we better pull our finger out here. Is that potentially just symbolic of maybe 6 weeks ago, they went into their shell a bit, got a bit defensive, wanted to protect their spot rather than trying to, I don't know, you've got to find something else inside of you when you're being hunted rather than hunting, is my point. You boys both know this, playing sport. You know that it's easier to find some further intrinsic motivation when you've got nothing to lose. Because it's like, we can leave it all out there, boys, and whatever happens, happens. Does that make sense?
Not when you have not if as a group and as a collective you have your eye on one thing and one thing only. Then what you're doing is you're sending statements. You play the Dogs, you send a statement. You play GWS, you send a statement. Nah. For me, it's blatantly down to an immaturity of the group. Plain and simple.
No, but that's my point. That's my point. Is the maturity factor, tied into that, where they haven't been in that position yet, and they've had to experience what that feels like to then remember next time, fuck me, boys, let's not rest on our laurels here.
Joe,
fucking going.
I haven't criticized Vossel, and for me, I love him, okay? But I even sensed it in his presser. The way he handled his presser for me this week, I was that disappointed. It's not even funny. Like, I understand that you don't want to lose the group and you don't want to lose the dressing room, but to say that you're proud of a comeback, for me, to cop out. And for me, that's and over the weeks, I've noticed this air of complacency from even him.
Yeah, for me, I mean, it's
And
definitely a lack of
Sorry, Jules, but
immaturity.
his selection's probably justifiable of his complacency as well with his choices. Thinking about where he's at. You think about it. We reached the prelim and we were absolutely cooked. So do you think sitting second on the ladder, he's probably gone, oh, George Hewitt, might need to rest him. Do you know what I mean?
That goes back to the point that I just made. Is all of that just part of the learning process to go, all right, next time when we find ourselves in that position, let's not rest on our laurels. Whether it be selection, whether it be coaches, whether it be players, whether it be CEO, president, whoever it is it maybe just part of that evolution? Like,
but wasn't his coaching staff not got enough about them to understand? He's been in these moments himself.
Not as a coach, as a player.
As a player, of course.
I would assume it's very different. And the 45 on the playing list have never been there. Never. Like I know. And again, I'm just playing devil's advocate. None of us know the answer, right? We've all got our opinions on it, but I don't know. I look at Brisbane, for instance, right? 7 years for the last 7 years, they've tried to win a flag, and they've been in the position that we were in so many times. They've made the same mistake so many times. You know what I mean? Like, is it just part of it? Is the expectation that we would have just won a flag this year because that's the linear progression of it? Is that just an unrealistic expectation? I don't know. I'm just asking the question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I think it's definitely a lack of maturity, that's for sure. Look, I still think we have what it takes to be top 4. If we should be top 2, to be honest with you, we probably should be close to Sydney now. The fact that they've dropped that many games. and I think we I can understand your point too, Joe. But at the end of the day, it's the players still need to make sure that they're in the right frame of mind to be able to perform. Now, whether it was they're not in a position or they haven't been in a position to be able to experience where they are currently, or when they were 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago, whatever it may be. But it's
I can't accept that. I know.
It's games of
I know.
football.
I'm not targeting you, Joe. You're just obviously playing devil's advocate, but I can't accept that as an excuse to say that's why we've dropped to 8th.
Fair.
I mean,
That's
it's
fair.
and this is
That's
this
me
is another thing
personally.
too. Yeah, but I mean, we've gone from 2nd to 8th, but really, in the grand scheme of things, it's probably like
It's worse.
what 5th to 8th, not even.
No.
Like when you actually look at it like contextually in terms of because now it's literally from what 2nd to 10th or what 2 games, not even 6 points,
Yeah.
something like that. It's ridiculous how close it is. I reckon if there's any year where a team that's outside the top 4 can win it, it's this year.
I agree. I actually agree with that.
Yeah.
Which is why.
So when you look at it that way,
which is why, and obviously, there's a lot of negativity surrounding this game, and it just is what it is, as it should
Well,
be.
it's against Collingwood, Joe.
They need a
Like,
clip. Absolutely. The opponent, everything like that. But on that point, Jules, it's why I think we can't just give up just yet. Like, we win our next 3, realistically, we could still be top 4, just with how tight it is. So top 4 is not gone. It makes it a lot more difficult now, but it's still all there to play for. Like, we're not done yet. And even if we don't, like you said, Jules, it could be the year that someone wins it from outside the 4, because there's no team other than Brisbane at the moment that's really putting their hand up to go, yeah, we'll take the mantle of flag favourites. Fucking Sydney, mate. Who in their right mind would have thought they'd get belted like they did last night?
yeah.
2 weeks ago, everyone was saying, I don't want to play Sydney at the SCG. I'd be more than happy to finish 4th and play them at the SCG if the final started next week. Seriously, they're cooked. They look absolutely cooked.
If we win the next 3, most likely, looking at the draw, we'd probably finish in the top 4.
Yeah,
we will. I think we will.
so as well. Yeah.
I think we will.
Looking at the draw, we'd probably finish top 4, probably 3rd or 4th. So it'd probably be, Sydney or Brisbane. I'd probably prefer playing Sydney.
Mate, I'll happily
At the
play
moment.
Sydney week 1. Happily play Sydney week 1.
And I just hope to say, and I think Voss, and he alluded in his press conference in terms of continuity. I hope we see some continuity in the next 3 weeks, because I think that's probably going to be the difference between us making top 4 and not.
Well, we're going to
back on the game, and Dan, I'll direct this back to you, right? That's the 4th game in the last 2 years or 3 seasons, whatever it is, that we've lost to them by under a goal. Like, all right, we mount the comeback. Fantastic. We're all in the stands. We can't believe what we're seeing. 5 goals as quickly as what we did, and there's still fucking 4 minutes to go. Can we win this game? McGovern has a shot up that takes the mark. Siren goes. For me personally, and you were there, so you can attest to this, because I'm being completely honest. Did I not say it's just not going to happen? Because we don't. That's not us. That's not our role. That's their role. That's their role. They own us in those situations. That's their role. If they had that kick, exact same kick after the siren, they'd bury it. 10 out of 10. And it's not on McGovern. It's not on anything. It's just not our role in this rivalry.
I actually had thought to myself that this could be the change. When he was lining up and we'd taken that mark, I thought this is where it turns for this Collingwood Carlton, current rivalry. Yeah.
It's not for me. For me, a year ago, we did this podcast, literally a year ago, and it's what that meme got made out of when I was talking about they like it all downhill skiing, Bruce Free footy, this and that. 1 year later, I'm going to say the same thing, but I say it about our football club, because right now we're downhill skiers. It's Bruce Free. We only like it when it goes our way. We have completely forgotten our identity of being able to get our hands dirty and brutalize teams. It just doesn't happen anymore. And when in those moments that we need to be clutch or clinical, we just don't look convincing. There's nothing convincing. There's no edge. There's no killer edge to what we've got anymore. It's gone. So they've got to find it, and they've got to find it fucking quickly, boys. Very quickly now.
Yeah. So bring it back to the last quarter. Obviously, we're down by 30 odd. And Jules, I'm going to ask you this. We played 16 minutes of football. All right. 16 minutes of football where you finally saw what we haven't seen for, apart from that first quarter against Port, we haven't seen for 4 or 5 weeks. What changed? What changed in that 16 minutes or whatever it was that we just went, what the fuck? We're on. Like, you could see a genuine momentum shift that it actually looked like Collingwood were done. They completely stopped.
Hey, do you remember I turned to you boys and I said, to be fair here, they have fucking stopped. Like, you could see it. They were spent. They were done. And the pressure rating, again, I'll bring it up for the third time here, 175 in the last one, we're at 220. You could actually feel that with 10 minutes to go. True, Jules?
So yeah, for me, it was come down to the pressure.
Sorry, Jules. I was asking you, Jules.
Thanks for that. No, for me, it was down to the pressure and work rate. That was it. I don't know if we were making any better decisions. It was down to pressure, work rate, and the fact that we had 24 inside 50s in the last quarter. That was it. It was just weight of numbers. We had 50, I think it was 56 or 58 for the game. We had 24 in the last quarter. They had 51. And we had, for the game, we had 24 in the last quarter. We had half their inside 50s in one quarter.
And how often throughout the game, how often were the three of us screaming for us to get repeat entries? Like, because they did it so early. Like, they did it for 3 quarters against us. They got repeat entries all game. It took until 8 minutes or 10 minutes to go for us to lock the ball in and get repeat entry after repeat entry.
Well, listen, Jacob Wiedering was, I'd say, nearly almost solely responsible for the amount of repeat entries we got for his inset marking. Wieders was next level. Did you both notice as well from a clearance perspective that we're actually getting the ball out forward to center to be able to get the ball inside 50 with better looks? Did you both notice that? And we hadn't seen that obviously for a while.
Of course, you're able to get deeper entries when you're going out the back. It makes it a lot more difficult, and it's more so probably a hack kick, and then it's shallow. And then teams like Collingwood with their ball movement are able to get inside 50 very easy. So,
but I just don't know.
Obviously, that made it a lot easier.
I just don't understand where this over possession of the football had come in. We'd spoken about it, Jules, didn't we? Over possession of the football in all parts of the ground at times, that just gets ourselves into trouble. But in that last quarter, it wasn't there. You know?
Yeah, it's true.
And obviously, it was that obviously catalyst to the turnaround. So individual players, boys, are we going to go with some individual players? Joe,
who's there to talk about? I mean, we haven't done. To be fair, we haven't done votes tonight. Deliberately, I just didn't feel necessary. I'm just going to mute you, Jules. Sorry. Oh no, you spoke about Wiedering. For me, so many times in that game, I just went, "Thank fuck, we've got Jacob Wiedering." Like, seriously. Without him in the back line, we would get absolutely murdered, would we not? With the amount of inside 50s and the ease at which we allow teams to enter their forward 50, we would get slaughtered every week if he wasn't there. Like, he stands out like dog's balls in that back six. And if he's not All-Australian this year, he never will be. He just never will be. He has to be the best fullback in the comp, considering how much pressure he absorbs every week. as a result of his midfield group just not working hard enough further up the ground.
Jules, anyone you want to cover?
Players. There's a few. Newman, I reckon he had a pretty decent game, to be honest. Obviously had a lot of the ball, but just his ball use, defensive one-on-one ability. Hewitt, probably besides Cripps, I reckon Hewitt had a very, very decent game. Obviously, Cripps was probably the best on ground for us in the end. I think just overall, he was great. Obviously, kicking the goal as well out of the ruck. But two more players that I reckon were actually pretty good. One was Gov. I know we obviously missed the goal, but I think his ability out of D50 to really help us drive the ball in transition, I just think he's key for us in that area. I just hope he can start intercepting the ball a lot more. That's probably been a bit of a a negative part of his game over the last, this year, really, compared to last. I think that was probably his one of his one-woods. And for me, the last one is Elijah Hollins. Arguably, he kicks 3 goals, has 20 odd. He's probably close to being our best player, to be honest, boys.
Yeah, I agree with all those players we spoke about. Obviously, yeah.
Just
Joe?
on Gov and that shot, because I haven't really spoken about it proper yet. But fuck, I don't know if you boys soaked it in when he was running in to take the kick. That was as hostile an environment that I've ever seen for a player
I know.
to have to execute after the siren. Like, it was, the boos were deafening. So you can imagine, like, just try and place yourself out there in that moment. That must be just as overwhelming as it gets. I don't know. We sit here as armchair experts. We can't actually understand the pressure that he would have felt in that moment. So, I mean, disappointing that he sprayed it, but fuck me, based on being there and hearing it from the stands. Hey, we were there on the ground for the semi-final last year. Remember when the Melbourne players ran out and we heard the boos from the middle of the ground? Times that by 10 in that
I
moment.
didn't hear it. To be honest with you, I didn't hear anything. I felt like I felt like I was a bit numb and I could just feel my heart beating. I actually prayed. I prayed during that duration, that from him marking it to him kicking it. So yeah, I don't want to be. It's obviously been a negative podcast.
No, go do it. Who cares? Go.
I just want to talk about one moment where Cox, just before halftime, had a little scuffle and then took down Newman. And I saw 7 Collingwood players run in, and I think there was, Joe, I think there was like 2 of us, and then I saw Ollie Hollins and I don't know, just for me, that incidence there where we weren't all in to help Newey, who was getting pummeled, for example, just for me maybe shows, I don't know, am I reading into it too much, boys, for a lack of cohesion? I don't know.
No, there might be something in it. I mean, there was support there. Like, if you see the photos in particular, we've got the same numbers, but it doesn't do it justice, because looking at that scuffle, the Pies players just looked like they wanted to stand up for Cox so much more.
I wanted blood.
They wanted blood. They did. They genuinely wanted blood.
You remember it, Jules?
Our players were a bit tentative, and that's just been a bit of a pattern that I've seen in those sort of moments where we need the group to like really fire up around one of our players.
Like,
For
there was
me,
an
there was
opportunity. Yeah, go.
it wasn't just that moment either. There was one where I think Motlop might have gotten pinned for holding the ball, and I think Nick Dacos was having a rare go at him as well, like a fair dinkum go at him. And just bystanders. Like, it's not like as if in that particular moment that you have to go do something about it, but just keep it in the back of your mind that next time Nick Dacos does go near the pill, I'm going to get after him.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit
100%.
Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously in that moment, especially in that moment, it was a bit tricky, yeah, because obviously you still got to try and defend the ball. But man, it's just got to be better sticking up for you, mate. That's for
I
sure.
just think like that's I'm looking at it as that's your family, that's your brother, and to see the way I think it was Hollins and Chinko, I don't know who it was now that just sort of jogged over when it had almost finished, and I was like, I don't know, it just got to me a little bit. I just had to mention it,
Fair enough.
boys. So where
It's shit.
to?
It's shit that it's always them. It always has to be Collingwood. Like, I don't know. It's what do you say? What does the rivalry even mean anymore when we get embarrassed every single time? It's just so disappointing. So disappointing. A game like that just I don't know. There was a comment earlier at the start of the podcast in the live chat. I can't remember who it came from, but they said, sometimes I wonder whether or not I care more about winning a flag or just beating these pricks. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. All right. So we're obviously now fighting.
Hold on. Are we done with the review? What are we doing?
We're
now?
done. We're done.
All right. Well, then, in that case, there's no votes. There's no votes. But we got Livy still for tonight. So, Livy's last word.
Hey everybody, it's Livy with Livy's Last Words, and this is what I thought about the game. Well, Collingwood by 3 points. It's not good enough. We're sitting 7th on the ladder right now, and next week we are versing Hawthorn, and mate, we just need to start winning these games. I mean, we played amazing. I mean, in the third quarter, it was poor. I mean, we were under massive pressure from Collingwood. Mate, we couldn't score. Like, we freaking missed like 8 times, and mate, I was getting frustrated. I mean, Mackay did have a good goal at the end, which was very, very nice. But anyways, I reckon that fourth quarter we played amazing. The last 12 minutes was very big. But, you know, I felt like we just left it a bit too late. I mean, it was good to catch up. But McGovern, mate, what was that? I understand that he's a defender. He usually doesn't go for goals, kicks, but, mate, that was a chance. And he completely shanked it. I was like, oh, please, McGovern. And then I turned off the TV straight away. I was like, come on, mate. Like, oh. I mean, Crip had an amazing game. He did play in the forward a bit. I was a bit worried about that because obviously he wouldn't play in the midfield. I reckon Elijah had a good game. You know, Sardi as well. I reckon he had an amazing game. He always does absolutely amazing. He did very good at the start. But I mean, I felt like that fourth quarter was good. You know, we were losing by about, I think, 32 points. And then we just came back. But sadly, you know, McGovern shot went wide. Well, Charlie Curnow coming off for 7 minutes on the bench because of his ankle, mate, was not good. He didn't kick a goal. I mean, he had a chance in the first quarter, but, you know, it's okay. We didn't even barely score in that. We only kicked a goal in like 8 points. But anyways, we need to start winning. We are 7th on the ladder, and, mate, we better win against Hawthorn, mate. Voss better give them a big chat because this is just not good enough, because we can't expect to win these games when we're only playing a quarter of footy. Like, it's absolutely shit. But anyways, we better win the next few games, otherwise we obviously will be out of the top 8, and we've been literally in the top 4 the whole season. It's very frustrating, but anyways, this is what I thought about the game. Go the Blues!
Livy brutal.
A lot of
Boys.
love for Livy in the comments as always as well. Just quickly before Dan gets into the preview, Simon Schultz, who Dan spoke about at the start of his podcast, he met him at the MCC before the game. He's just sent us an Instagram message here. He said, "Sad night, but fucking great meeting Dan at the bar. For the record, he looks to be in great shape, in my opinion." Looking forward to the podcast. So he's obviously listening or watching, but I just want to give him a little clip. because I didn't get to do it at the start of the episode. Simon, when it comes to my golf game, you can't have a crack at me when the guy that you met at the MCC bar thinks he's genuinely about a year off being on tour. Yes or no, Dan?
Well, 4 weeks ago, yes.
You're an idiot.
Now, because I've
Anyway.
had Alessandro, obviously my
You-
skills have declined a little bit.
You and
Right.
Simon,
I was about to
you
say
both
now
know,
you're 6 months closer.
you
Sorry.
both know where you can go. You both know where you can go. So anyway,
Simon looked at me and I could tell he analyzed me and he goes, "You actually look all right." I go, "Yeah, the boys." I go, "I actually do train." He goes, "I don't know what they're talking about," and then you just
To
So
be
thank
fair,
you, Simon.
to be fair to me and Jules though, when Jules gave you that feedback in 360 about, you were looking a little bit
The punter,
podcore, a little bit podcore, yeah, you were probably 5-6 kilos heavier than what you are now.
I was over 100.
Yeah, so fair enough. All right.
Now that you've had Al there,
Yeah, a bit more to do around the house.
All right, go on, Dan.
Anyway, let's not talk about my weight. We've obviously got next week, boys. Now it's win at all costs. Now it's backs against the wall. Now it's we've got something to play for in the biggest way. If which doesn't make sense to me because we did already, but according to this playing group, we do. And us, me and Jules, actually, Jules, you made me laugh because you're like, stuff this, I'm not coming next week. We both, that was us being heated. True, Jules? Us being heated. We're obviously going to be there. Sunday, 11th of August, 1:10, Carlton v. the Hawks.
To be fair, we might not be there depending on how Saturday night finishes up.
No, we could be going straight from there to the game.
Got Jules' Bucks on Saturday, and we've got a big day planned. So we'll see. We'll see where. I don't even know where we're going to be come Saturday morning. To be fair,
You want to talk? Yeah. Well, yeah, we don't know. Anyway, we'll be at the game. Us being the loyal, supporting fans that we are, we will be there, and we'll be there in full force, and we will be loud, and we will be hoping that this team produces an even better display than the 16 minutes that we saw at the last quarter.
yeah, agree.
All right. The Hawks have belief, which they've shown now over however many games, but we are better. And I can say that for a fact. We are a better side. Boys, this is our run now. Joe?
Well, yeah, I'm with you. As negative as tonight's been, and as disappointing as last night was, yeah. This is the last time I'll put myself on the line for the season. I think to go. I've got faith and I've got belief that this group next week will come out and they will put together 4 quarters. I don't know. I've had a pretty good temperature gauge on where this group's been at, internally. Like going into last night, I told both of you that I wasn't confident. Dan, you even said last night you weren't confident going into the game. Next week, I've just got a feeling that we're going to see it again. And I think the way that we finished in particular, hopefully is the way that we're going to start next week. And I'm hoping if we can start that well, we get a similar vibe to what we had in that Gold Coast game last year where we just go on with it. And then we've got two more weeks to really set ourselves up for a nice little final tilt at it. It's not over yet, boys. It's not. It feels like it is because we've played so poorly for so long now, but we know what the group's capable of. They know what they're capable of. They just got to do it. They've just got to do it.
Jules, do you see it? Where are you at?
I can definitely see us winning. Yeah, I just think this is probably Hawthorn's one of those sides that when they're on, like they'll beat anyone.
Mm.
Yeah, I just think they've got the pace to burn at the moment. Their midfield does a job. They go to work. Their defense at the moment's holding up. They haven't really conceded a score other than I think recently against Geelong. I think it was about 3-4 games ago where they conceded over 100. I think it was like 120. I think they got smashed that game. I think it was like 50, 60 points in the end. But they've got players that can score goals too. The Gunstons, who else? Sicily's playing forward a little bit as well. Ginnivan has been running amok down there as well. Even Charles been kicking, 2-3 goals a game at the moment. So it's not going to be an easy game, I can assure
It
you.
won't be easy. It won't be easy. What I will say though, I watched them today against the Giants. They looked good in patches. And the Giants probably should have had that game wrapped up a lot earlier if they kicked straight. It was similar to us last night, to be honest. But the other thing with the Hawks is they're quite young and they've been on a run for a little while now where they've had to put together some really strong performances to stay in touch. I'm hoping because they faded out today massively in the last quarter, massively. They stopped. I'm hoping, considering how young they are, that maybe that's it for them. They've redlined. I think they may have a little bit more left in the tank, but I'm hoping that our experience gets us over the line. And in terms of our ability to get through a game and all that sort of stuff, and we'll be able to run over the top of them. Because they stopped today. They really did. They had that game locked up, and the Giants kicked, I think, the last 6 goals very, very quickly to put that game away. So, yeah, I think we're lucky that we're coming up against a young group.
I was going to say something very similar. I watched them today against the Giants, and we know that Hawthorn are a team that don't go away. They don't. They're always there. They fight. But I saw them actually, I wouldn't say stop because they were still very competitive. But I saw a very big momentum swing, and whether that was fatigue for this young group, potentially. I think for our boys, though, I think we're going to really see what this group's made of. We're going to really see what this group's made of come Sunday, to be honest with you, and how bad they want it. We talk about character, we talk about mindset, we talk about everything. We're going to know.
Changes. Obviously, so Chera, Cottrell, probably both come out. Charlie's a chance to miss, just quietly. That ankle doesn't look too good. That's been lingering for a while now. So he's probably a chance to miss.
Put Albert's comment on.
Which one?
Danny's coaching and method is baffling to me.
I think he's responding to Simo in the comments.
Oh, okay. I thought that was what he was talking about with Voss.
Yeah, which they are talking about Voss. Just on Simo though, quickly.
Yeah.
Pov, get on. Joe running the show is perfect. Stick to expert commentary only. There you go. Some nice 360 from Simo. It's good.
Yeah, it'd help if a guy actually liked you, but that's fine. Anyway, Jules, do you agree? Like, we talk about mindset, we talk about maturity, we talk about willingness and want and all those sort of things, and then you're saying, Joe, obviously you played devil's advocate earlier about that, whether now we're in a position that we're used to or that we've been in before. Does this now show you the character of the group and the want to actually win a flag these next 3 weeks?
I feel like as if we've been in a position like this before.
Well, we've been in this position.
100% we did. We made a run to a prelim. We made a run to a prelim like this.
Yeah, well, yeah, not exactly like this, but because we ended up winning 10 of the last 12 or whatever it was. I don't know, 11. But in terms of positioning a ladder back up against the walls, we can do a lot of different things from here. That's the thing with this football club. We could end up missing the 8. We could just make the 8. We could still make top 4. We can go deep into finals. At the end of the day, it's what the players want to do and what story they want to write, really. I know Cripps alluded to that as well a few times now. Post game, I was actually, when Livy was on, obviously listening to Livy, and I was trying to read because Carlton just put something up on their socials with Voss, what he was saying after the game. And he was just alluding to the players that it's about process, not the scoreboard, and process will get us there in the long term. And I understand that too, but we've got to play what's in front of us right now, and be present in the moment, and which you did allude to as well. 3 games left. I think we can make it tilted if we want. It's just whether we're able to put it together for 4 quarters, week on week. I don't think we've done it consistently this year, even when we were sitting second. To be honest with you,
Mm.
I think the run of games last year, the back half of the year, performance-wise, in terms of effort and output, I don't think we've reached those levels yet. I think in terms of method this year, I think we were better this year than last year, but just not on a consistent enough basis.
Yeah, agree with that.
I just want to see last year's effort compiled with the game style more consistently this year. And if we do that over the next 3 to 7 games, depending on how many we play, I think we have a very good shout. But at the end of the day, we'll see.
Yep. So ins and outs, boys. Obviously, Cotter's injured, Ches injured.
Yep.
Both them out. Who comes in?
Fantasia Williams for me.
Bang bang. Paysan.
Did Fantasia play in the VFL?
I'm not sure. Not sure.
I don't know if I saw his name. Hawthorn. If Williams is good to go, I reckon he'll come back in for Chera. I just think that'd be the right move
Yep.
to make, and then Kennedy will come in and play more on ball, like there's in to start, and then someone else will go sub. And I think it's time for Bins, to be honest, for Cotters.
He definitely deserves it with what he's done in all year.
Probably
I
to
think
be
if it's
to be
a-
fair, it's probably Carroll before Bins still, just based on the portfolio he's put together.
True. Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
Bins
But yeah,
definitely-
I don't know.
Bins
In the
definitely
VFL,
deserves it, though.
there's no one really lining it up at the moment.
Yeah, I just don't think it's not the right time to bring Bins in now. Like, I think the chance was there when we were tinkering and we didn't do it. It just doesn't make sense to me with everything on the line. You're going to bring in a kid that hasn't played a full senior game yet. Like, you need some experience now if we're replacing players through injury. That's all. On Kennedy, just quickly, can we stop fucking making him the sub, please?
I know.
Like, we looked so much better with him out there. And I say this every week. I don't know why. I don't know why he's the go-to as sub. It doesn't make sense to me. We look a better team with him in our midfield. It's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous.
Chez's injuries sort of opened the door now for that to be a consistent thing. Really?
We haven't spoken about Chera tonight, but I could have spoken about him for 20 minutes if you wanted to.
Yeah, we'll definitely. But I don't think we have to because I think everyone's pretty aligned with what they think. So I, as I said earlier, boys, I think we're going to know a lot more come the result post Sunday. Yeah,
This is it now.
This
is it. You know, they either win and we go on with it, or we lose, and that's it. That's curtains on the season. That's it. That's it. It's all there to play for now. It was all there to play for last night, to be fair. So this is now it. You know,
wait for selection, and we'll see you Sunday.
Predictions?
Carlton by 25.
And a player thing?
Jack Martin 3 and 20.
Fuck. Jules?
I reckon Carlton by 32. I reckon Walsh 30 and 2.
I'll do it one more just for one last go. Blues by 50. Blues by 50.
50.
Harry to kick 6. And Crippen have 40. Fuck it. Like, why not? Why not?
It's a deflated one. All right.
Hold on.
Boy, thank you. Are we done?
on.
No. Oh, wow.
Have you got one or not?
Yeah. Short one.
Keep calm. Count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, 10.
Not happy, Jan!
I had to switch back to the host because this is now you can't throw to your own segment.
No, it doesn't make sense. Lucky you remembered. All right. So I was about to leave for the game and pretty calm. I obviously went back to work, boys, as you know, pretty quickly post the birth of my son. Work going all right. Get an email from Google.
Oh no.
Now, if anyone can give me the contact number of Google, Google business page, because for whatever reason, they've suspended my business account. I get an email, Jules, you won't believe. I get an email from Google saying your page is currently being suspended for policy violation. How? You can't contact them. All you can do is submit an appeal. I don't know what I violated. How can I appeal something that I don't know I violated?
Hey Jules, have you noticed a lot of these have to do with Dan and technology? Have you noticed that?
He probably hasn't paid the latest bill.
You don't pay a bill for Google, bloke. All
You'll
it
be
is.
fine. I told you you'll be
I
fine.
can't get a Google page. I'm losing business as we speak right now.
Oh, okay,
That's how
yeah.
frequent it gets visited.
He reckons, Jules, he calls me on Saturday at 6 p.m. Saturday, 6 p.m., fucking fuming. He's going, I'm losing clients. I go, Dan, it's Saturday, 6 p.m. Who the fuck is looking for a PT on a Saturday night on Google, bloke?
Not a chance.
Exactly. You'll be fine. I told you. They'll rescind it. You'll be
Anyway.
back up and running. Anyway, all right, now hold on. Go on. Finish off.
Anyway, they're cooking me. So that's my not happy Dan. Done, boys. Thank you both very much. It's been an absolute pleasure hosting. Like I said in the comments, please give your honest feedback. Hopefully very, very positive. And I'll see you, or we'll see you on Sunday. Jules, thank you.
Thanks, Bello.
And Joe, thank you.
Up the baggers.
Up the baggers.
Well done,
Up the
Dan. Well done, Dan.